What's up everybody, and welcome to your source for everything in the world of video games. It's Inside the Game, and we've got an excellent show lined up. So what's on today's episode? Let's go. It's the rundown.
So in Far Cry 6, there are several little pet companions that you get along the way.
And we have a lot to talk about, so stick around because we're talking about what's going on next in the world of Ghost Recon. Like I said, looks like a great show, so let's get it going with Steve and Scott as they go with Unsighted.
Alright, Steve, we're sightseeing in this one. This is Unsighted. This kind of unknown game, this is Unsighted. And I played this one on the Xbox, and I have to say, this is something I haven't seen in quite some time. We're debating whether it's 2D, 3D, but it is kind of an orthographic camera. You adventure through the world as an android, and you're kind of left to find your place in the world. What does it mean to be alive? Well, that's the central theme of this game, but when you jumped into this one, what were your first impressions?
I really enjoyed this game. I will say, start off, the graphic is like the retro style, and even though like we were talking about whether it's a 2D or 3D side-scrolling like an adventure game, I did find some of the textures awkward on my eyes, especially on like moving platforms. That being said, this game was designed by two guys, so putting that aside, this game did have everything, because you have your weapons, you have your puzzle solving, you have your boss fights, it's fast paced, it is a good game. But there are some similarities to other games that we mentioned earlier.
Oh yes, I have to mention that this one feels a lot like the old school Zelda. A Link to the Past is kind of the one that stays on my mind, and the way it starts you off in the world, and you know there's 5 different shards you have to get. It's very similar to the way Zelda steps it up. You need these different sage temples to bring back to get to the end game, and it's a very similar feel in that way. This one adds a lot more depth to it than Zelda ever had. Not to speak ill of Zelda, but there is a lot of leveling in this game, and some character kind of customization options you get too, which I think really flushes out the long-term aspects of the game. You're fighting all these bosses, you're getting stronger along the way, and you get these chips that you could add to your character because you are an android, and that changes your stats in different ways. Your character is a sword wielder plus some guns, and that's a mix-up that I thought was really interesting.
Oh yes, I did like the old plasma gun, and obviously the axe is which is given to you by a fairy bot who helps you and sort of guides you on certain things, or definitely on the tutorial at the beginning, because it'll explain to you how to actually upgrade your stuff and use the chips. I really did like the idea of having terminals, because these are your checkpoints, and also when you do die, and you do die quite a lot, this is where you'll respawn back to. But you can also use it for fast travel, and like we talked about, like upgrading with the chips too. And I did find it a little bit confusing, because each slot you can either have an upgraded melee attack, or increase your strength or your health.
The idea of having these fireplaces in Dark Souls to rest at, save your checkpoint, and level your character up, it's very similar to the terminals in this game. One thing that I wish was explained by the fairy bot, again, a little wink to Zelda, there was no dialogue that taught me how to save the game when it actually came to closing the game out. If I wanted to jump into Battlefield, for example, I wasn't certain that I was actually saving. And we talked about that. I asked you for help, and you told me, you know, the terminals is where you'll spawn, so you're good. But I was just a little bit nervous, because this game really makes you work for that progression. And I think that's overall a positive, really.
Oh yes, definitely. I will sort of touch on the puzzles, because there is a lot of puzzles where you have to hit certain switches, whether to like platforms materialize to get across water and things like that. And I find the time limit is brutal on it, because certain areas you can't get to because you're not powerful enough. So you have to you do go through certain levels quite a lot. And what I found is when you scroll from one scene to the next, if there was an obstacle in the way, you have to keep breaking that obstacle. It's not like already disappeared because you've already destroyed it the first time, which I found a little bit frustrating, and you get the same monsters coming back. But definitely, like, the puzzles, I did find very challenging as well.
Yeah, you mentioned a time limit, and that's something that's actually really important to this game in a story way. Now, the world you're inhabiting, Arcadia, I believe, it has had some sort of catastrophe. There is a meteor that has crashed on the planet, and in it was anima, and that anima has kind of given life to these androids, to these robots. They now are free-thinking, conscious individuals. And the issue with that is that this anima is being used up just naturally. And when it's gone, you become what they call the Unsighted, just a rogue killbot, and that would be the end of your civilization. But you're constantly trying to solve that problem, whether it's another meteor coming with anima, or finding a way to get your people off of that so you can coexist with humans. But it's quite a dire situation, and you're always looking at that time limit. Do I have 200 hours left of life before I'm erased is essentially the problem. And that leads to an interesting thing in this game. You aren't necessarily going to be able to save everyone. That requires some hard decisions sometimes. There's a lot to this game, but we should probably cut it short. If you were going to rate this game on your experience, what would you say?
Yeah. I found this game very addictive. I found the controls very smooth, all the game mechanics, and I'm going to progress through this to see where the story takes me. So I'm giving this an 8. How about you?
I feel that too. There's a little bit of apprehension at the start, but when you get into the flow of it, I am stuck coming back and back and back. There's one thing I really wish they had added, which is the voiceovers, and maybe just turn the music up a notch. But other than that, this game is really quite well done. Considering it came from the desks of 2 individuals, super impressive. I'm right there with you with an 8. Unsighted is an incredible action-adventure with a great premise. It was definitely heavily influenced by other massive titles.
Ubisoft just celebrated 20 years of Ghost Recon, and I've been there for, I would say, all of it. That's right, I've been around for a long time playing this series, and it's had its highs, it's had its lows, and we have a lot to talk about, so stick around because we're talking about what's going on next in the world of Ghost Recon. So over the event with Ubisoft and Ghost Recon's 20th anniversary celebration, they talked about a few games of the past and something of the future. Well, it's kind of the future that has me a little bit concerned. Let's be honest. There was a video, actually let's back up. Let's get into where Ghost Recon really came from and where it started to take off. Ghost Recon Future Soldier, I think for a lot of us, really where it took off from. Third person perspective, to the point where I actually even joined a clan to be a part of this game. It was incredible. The coordination, objective based, it was fantastic. And again, let me highlight third person. You'll understand why in a second. Let's move on to the next game. Ghost Recon Wildlands. Absolutely love that game. Again, third person, right? Full story, open world. We're in Bolivia. There's a lot going on in that game. I spent a ton of time in that game. From there, we move into the world of Breakpoint. And well, if you've seen us cover Breakpoint over on the show, you know we've had mixed points of this one. There's a lot of ups and a lot of downs on this game. A lot of bugs. When it first launched, it was rocky. Real rocky. Since then, they, being Ubisoft, put a lot of heart and soul into the game to try and bring it back around. Fix a lot of the issues we experienced. Bring out more DLC, free DLC, this, that, and the other. But Ghost Recon has been a third-person perspective game now for a very long time. A lot of Ubisoft titles in general come from a third-person perspective. Assassin's Creed, The Division. There's a lot going on in what's happening here. What goes on next, though, I think shocked a lot of us. When we were watching the stream over on their Twitch page and they were talking about they have a new project in the works, I immediately went to a battle royale. And I was right. It is a battle royale. Let me give you the description of what's going on here. Ghost Recon Frontline offers a new and never before seen way for players to explore the Ghost Recon universe with a free-to-play 100 players plus PvP first-person military experience. That's right, 100 plus players. Seems like it's gonna be team-based, which is cool. But one of the highlights of what they're kind of emphasizing this on is the move into first-person perspective. I play Ghost Recon because it's third-person. You go first-person to ADS. You want to aim down your sights, then you have the ability to go into that first-person perspective. What happens to the other games? Free-to-play. Ubisoft has highlighted that they want to move AAAs into this free-to-play space. That's what they're doing here. They're also doing that with X-Defiant. That didn't hit very well either. And in fact, when they launched this trailer, this one hasn't gone over very well at all. Over 260,000 views, 4,500 likes to 17,000 dislikes. That is not a good ratio. I've seen some of the comments. They're not good. A lot of people are not happy with the move that they're moving over to this fast-paced action kind of scenario where we're so used to Ghost Recon being more tactical, methodical, third person. Again, third person, not a first person. You want to go into this PvP aspect, that's cool. What happened to the story? Are we now not having a story whatsoever? We had a fantastic story with Wildlands, a pretty good story I felt with Breakpoint. There were some highs and lows, again, we touched on that a lot in the past, but now they're moving into this free-to-play experience. The Division Heartland, doing the same thing. They want to go free-to-play as well. X-Defiant, who knows, we'll see what happens there. They pulled in games from Splinter Cell, or characters, classes from Splinter Cell, The Division, and Ghost Recon, and put them all in first person. What is going on? Why are we moving into this first person perspective, especially with a game like Ghost Recon, and the whole move has us all a little concerned. Free to play, I get it. What's coming next with free to play? Battle Pass, right? We're gonna have Battle Pass. We're gonna have purchases, in-game purchases of some sort. Are we gonna be able to grind out? We don't know. It is PvP. They did say that they're gonna bring PvE aspects to it as well. So we do have other opportunities. If you're not looking for that more competitive side, you do have the ability to go in and just play against AI, which can be okay, but I'm sure at some point that's gonna get kind of boring too, right? But this whole battle royale situation was presented in a smaller tone in Wildlands. Mercenaries, that was the game mode. It was 8 people. I know that's a lot smaller than 100 plus, isn't it? But 8 people allowed you to jump into Bolivia, start with no weapons, and then head out and be the last person standing. It was a ton of fun. It worked really well, and it was third person. That's right. My biggest concern as being a third person player, we're now moving from one of my favorite genres, favorite games, into a first person fast paced shooter. This isn't the Ghost Recon we've seen in the past. Now I get it, every studio wants to iterate and innovate on their next game, but moving to something a little bit more fast paced, where we're so used to something being a little bit more tactical, definitely curious to see how this plays out. If it's anything like the videos, people are not impressed. And for me, I'm a little concerned. Let us know InsideTheGame.ca. Are you looking forward to Ghost Recon Frontline?
I got a cool one this week. Microsoft has revealed 2 limited edition style Xbox Series X consoles in celebration of the release of the Nickelodeon All-Stars Super Smash Bros. Lite game. And you know what? These things look awesome. The first one we're getting is actually going to be featuring SpongeBob SquarePants, which, I mean, fits exactly, you know, just perfect with the Xbox Series X and its boxy frame already. There's also a company controller as well with it, with SpongeBob's face on it, which actually, honestly, they did a really good job. But the one that got me excited is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle one. It's Leonardo, and we got Turtle Power written on the side of the Xbox console. The controller looks awesome as well. I mean, these are just really cool looking consoles. I mean, it is obviously just a wrap put on top of the console, but they did a good job. They look really, really nice. These unfortunately won't be available in store, but if you head to the actually Xbox or Microsoft Twitter page, you can find the Xbox sweepstakes tweet, and you can retweet and follow the instructions there for your chance to win one of these cool consoles. But honestly, when I see these kind of collaborations, or, you know, just kind of the way they customize some of these consoles, especially the next gen ones, it's really interesting to see what they do. And you know what, with the nostalgia involved in this one, I'm definitely already retweeted this one. I definitely want to get my hands on that Leonardo one.
Alright, so for this week's news, I have something terrible to talk about. On October 11th, Monday, Michael Stockley passed away. A lot of you may know him as Kickster. He's been a host for Rainbow Six Siege almost since the beginning of Pro League. He used to be a former pro player, and he's just really held everything together for Rainbow Six Siege and all the commentators. Parker and Kickster have been the pair for the longest time, and to hear about this news, it really sucks. But as of Monday, Michael Stockley passed away in a car accident. His family put together a beautiful message that I'm not going to try and read because it's going to be too difficult, but I will put up on the screen for just a moment. But all this to say, I have to give respect where it's due. Kickster has helped me out so much over the years. He never even knew me, but I feel like I knew that guy for the amount of time that I've spent just watching him and just learning so much about Rainbow Six Siege. His impact on the community has been shown. I mean, the outreach on Twitter and everything has been incredible. They're setting up a foundation for him that'll be, I think it's going towards homeless people, food for homeless people, and all the money that's going to be donated is going to be going to this charity that's going to be named after him. This is all just some incredible stuff, but it's just going to be really tough with Siege for the next little bit. I'm not sure when exactly they'll be doing the Pro League. As of this recording, I might or I may not be doing Rainbow Six Siege for this episode, but I will definitely keep you guys up to date. So with that all to say, guys, rest in peace, Kickster. You will forever be missed.
In the latest Fortnite update, there's a couple of things you may not be aware of regarding the return policy for cosmetics. For a start, you can only get a refund for cosmetics that were purchased directly from the item shop, meaning it will not work for the Battle Pass or the Fortnite Crew subscription. Another thing as well is it only covers the transaction from the last 30 days, so you'll not be able to get any money back for anything that was acquired over a month ago. And every Fortnite account has a maximum of 3 returns, denoted by little ticket icons. So if you submit a return request in Fortnite, it will trigger a 365-day countdown. And once this time has elapsed, your ticket will be restored. And once your return has been accepted, you will not actually get your money back, but you'll get the value of V-Bucks for what the cosmetic was worth.
So in Far Cry 6, there are several little pet companions that you get along the way, and all of which you can upgrade. And some of these upgrades are a little challenging to complete. So in this section, I'm going to teach you how to level up your little crocodile friend, Guapo.
What?
Nah, you can whistle. A la pinga.
So at first he might seem a bit intimidating. How on earth do you get 50 kills with Guapo? Well, it's actually really easy. If you just swim in the waters, go fishing, do any sort of activities near the water, well, he just goes and eats all the fish, and this counts as kills. You don't have to kill actual NPC people. You can straight up kill fish and crocodiles and all sorts of wildlife, and he does this very well. So when I was just simply trying to collect this treasure that was just off the shoreline, he was eating all the fish, and I got this challenge completed in minutes. So I hope this helps you out. Your little friend Guapo actually comes in real handy, especially once he's actually fully leveled up. So make sure you get fishing with your little croc pal.
Nate, sometimes it just feels like life is strange.
Especially when you find out everyone's true colors.
Welcome to Haven.
Nate, this is one I've been looking forward to talking about for a very long time. I've beaten the game, you've beaten the game. It's an incredible experience to be back in the world of Life is Strange. And dude, it's just the storytelling, right? Like the presence of what's going on here is that you are Alex Chen, you're back reunited with your brother, something goes wrong with your brother, and the events unfold from there in about a 10-hour experience, I would call this one. And dude, storytelling at its finest with the characters, the environments, the world telling. I thought everything just fell into place, and Life is Strange 2 Colors is probably in my top list of games of the year, I would say, so far. How about you?
Oh man, honestly, like you said, dude, this is a heavily story-driven game, and they hit every note, I think, perfectly. I mean, each character interaction feels very authentic, and a lot of what this game is based on is that your character, Alex, she actually kind of has this, dare I say, superpower where she can actually see people's emotions. And I mean by that, they have this aura that comes around them when it's something really strong, whether it's fear or anger or sadness, or as the game unfolds, joy. And just this game, man, it hits your heartstrings so many times. And like I said, these characters, they just feel so real, and the engagement that you have with them, it's awesome, man. Of course, this game isn't very heavily focused on the gameplay side of things. No. There are, some puzzles to solve, and even in one of the chapters, there's some, classic turn-based RPG kind of mechanics, which I kind of really enjoyed. So the game does throw a little bit of, difference while you're doing some of these chapters, but a lot of it is just having these conversations with people and just kind of figuring out the mystery of what this game's all about.
No, absolutely. I think that's really kind of where it unfolds, Nate, is the experience of the discovery of characters and their backstory and what's going on with this person. And then if you want, you can dive into that person. Or, dude, there's options that you could actually completely skip. Like, so at the end of each chapter, a dialogue tree will come up and it'll showcase, here's your decision, here's the world's decisions, your friends' decisions, and within those decisions, sometimes I actually saw 0 because nobody noticed that opportunity to do that event, which I thought was incredible. That was like, man, it was so subtle, right? It was just kind of, did you want to do that, or did you just bypass it? I did one with a dartboard as an example. And you were able to go in and either mess with the dartboard or leave it alone. And some people just bypass the dartboard altogether, that they didn't see the dartboard, dude. They didn't interact with it whatsoever. And it was just one of those things on a whim. I kind of, I'm gonna go over to the dartboard and see what happens. And then sure enough, it was prompt with an option, right? And then within that option was another option. And it's just the way everything unfolds with all of these characters that you become connected to. It's incredible how strong some of these characters can become within your connection group, right? And then that ability to then use these powers and how those powers are affected the outcome of the next piece of dialogue or the next chapter. I'm glad we got the entire game as the entire game instead of waiting by episode and episode and episode, because that's how they used to do it, right? They used to launch one episode, then you would wait a month, maybe 2 months. It was kind of that Telltale scenario when you're with The Walking Dead. They launch one episode and then you wait a little bit and then you launch another episode and then you wait a little bit and then you launch another one, and then you lose that connection. We're here, dude. The minute I started, I think I put it down once or twice and then I just finished the rest of the game.
700 feels right, but we have to get it exactly.
Just felt that lady's heart skip a beat. I should read her again.
Dear me, they're really close to 731. Who is this girl?
Hell yes! Your secret's mine.
And that's the thing, man, is that a lot of the decisions that you make in this game actually play out the game differently. Not entirely,
no,
but a lot of the things you do, it ends up changing the story later, and it, for a lot of it, makes me want to come back and almost play through it again and see it differently. There are a ton of achievements in this game, which I can appreciate. If you go out exploring and interacting with different people, even maybe helping them out, then you get these little trophies or achievements, which is great. And man, the progression of this entire game I thought was just done so well. The pacing, everything, man.
Dude, there's one part within the game. There's I'm gonna try and, how do I avoid this? There's an event within the game that it just didn't really connect with me, right? I'm not a part of that scene. So to have that in there, I thought was like, really? Are we gonna do this? And then sure enough, they did it. And I'm like, okay. And I was waiting for that part to get done. The minute that was done, we got back into the main portion of the story, and I was right back in. But to get through that little, almost like it was kind of like a side quest, but I was part of the main story aspect of what's going on in the world, which, okay, but it was a weird aspect just because I'm not a part of that whole scene, like I said. But it was different. I've never seen it in a game before, so I give them props to putting that in there. I think it was relatively well done, but it was still kind of somewhat cheesy at the same time. And then the way it ended, I thought was kind of cool, which you kind of danced around as well. So, dude, there's a lot of dancing around this review because it's so easy to spoil, and it's one of those games, like I said, dude, it's in my top list of the game of the year this year because it is that good. The dialogue, the characters, Alex's character, Alex's brother, there's so much. And then you find out, like, later on in the backstory of certain aspects of other characters and their characters, and it's just, when it all comes together, Nate, you're just like, wow, and goosebumps rise. It's just, what an experience. That 10 hours, that's what I said, I put it down twice, maybe 3 times, and then just finished the game. And now it said it is only 10 hours long, but at the same time, like, I finished, I think, the last 3 chapters back to back to back. Like, I didn't stop.
It should have been you instead. Alex?
Alright man, so clearly we've had an awesome time with Life is Strange True Colors. Between the decision making that you have in this game, all the authentic characters that just flesh out to make this incredible story, I have to give this one a 9.5. This is a top contender for Game of the Year for 2021 for me, man.
Absolutely, I'm right there with you, Nate. It is one of my Game of the Years on my radar. Which one is going to be a tough year, actually, I think. But definitely with True Colors is going to be right there. Life is Strange True Colors has to be on everybody's radar. If you missed it, I'm telling you right now, this is one you have to check out. Nate, I'm right there with you, dude. 9.5.
Life is Strange True Colors tells an incredible story that relates to many different people. Feeling broken, happiness, sadness, these are all real emotions that you feel while seeing life through the eyes of Alex Chen.
Perfect.
That guy's bad to the gnome.
Right? I heard he won the Nobel Peace Prize.
Oh, God, please stop.
No problem.
Hey guys, this week's Mobile Mention, I'm checking out a pretty cool game from the creators of Johnny Trigger and Johnny Sniper. We're checking out Squad Alpha. This week I'm checking out Squad Alpha from Say Games, and they're one of the bigger mobile game publishers out there. They have a ton of huge games with millions of downloads, whether it be on the Apple or Android store. And when I saw that Squad Alpha was made by these guys, you know what? I was like, I gotta jump into this because I've played some of their games before, like Johnny Trigger, and they are just well-polished games. They, you know, depending on what you're looking for, I'm definitely into the shooters, and they do a good job at these. So when I jumped into this, I really enjoyed it. I thought the single stick kind of gameplay that they set up here was done really well, and you're just taking out enemies level after level. You can jump in and jump out. There's, you know, little save points all over the place, so it's really nice just to kind of pick up and quickly play. But there's a ton of upgrading here. You can upgrade your guns, you can upgrade your character, there's a bunch of skins you can choose from. I thought they just did a really good job at kind of laying it all out there. The UI was really nice, it was easy to navigate, and there aren't a ton of ads, so you're not just going to be trying to skip through. There are ads you can watch to kind of speed up certain aspects of the game, whether it's you know, trying to get different rewards or so on. But at the same time, this game was just a ton of fun. The gameplay was simple yet addicting. I thought being able to customize your loadouts and choosing between different weapons just really allowed you to kind of customize your playthrough. So when you get those, you know, special skins, make your guy look like a cowboy, you can equip him with that cool looking shotgun that you've upgraded, you know, and they did a good job. Overall, I had a ton of fun playing Squad Alpha. You gotta check this one out.
Alright, so for my favorite protagonist of all time, well, for the sake of this segment, I am only going to pick one, but I will have you know that there are many on the table here. I am always a person that can't just pick one thing, and well, I guess if I have to for this, guys, it's going to have to be Doom Guy.
For it is he that they fear, not man, or his armies. They fear the mark of the beast.
I mean, in 2016, when I opened up my game case, slipped that disc in my Xbox One, and played Doom 2016 for the first time, I was immediately swept off my feet. I sunk hours and hours into this game. I mean, I beat it, and then I immediately beat it again. That's pretty crazy for someone like me who's usually kind of flopping around between different games and really hopping into the PvP side of things. But Doom Guy, let's get back to him because he is credible. He doesn't even say anything in all of Doom 2016. That's right, this man doesn't say one word, but he still holds the title for my favorite protagonist. All of the decisions he makes, he is just a battle-hardened warrior who arguably is probably the strongest warrior in any video game. I mean, Doom Guy is so powerful, he rips and tears demon flesh with his bare hands. He put himself in a BFG 10,000 and launched himself into a planet in Doom Eternal and came out with no scratch at all. So, I mean, that all being said, guys, Doom Guy has to be my #1 pick for many reasons.
My top protagonist has got to take me all the way back to my childhood, and I'm talking about Mario. I mean, I played the original Super Mario Brothers on the Nintendo Entertainment System way back when I was a kid. That game was released in 1985. I mean, I wasn't even born yet, but a few years later I was playing that game, and let me tell you, it was one of the best experiences of my life. It was one of the reasons why I continue to play video games to this day. And honestly, I thought about a bunch of different protagonists that I could have chose, you know, as my favorite or, you know, most influential, but I had to stick with Mario because honestly, at every stage of my gaming life, Mario has been there in one form or another. I mean, I played, like I said, you know, the original Super Mario Brothers, you know, and then we started playing on Super Nintendo, and then we're playing Super Mario 64, and then I had a GameCube, and it was Super Mario Sunshine. So, I mean, there's so many games that, you know, as growing up, that Mario was involved in, and those were solid games. They were awesome. That's what made me want to get the next Mario game. I mean, I used Mario as my character in Super Smash Brothers, every single Super Smash game. Even when I got Dr. Mario, I was using Dr. Mario. And most recently in 2017, I was playing Super Mario Odyssey on the Nintendo Switch. So honestly, every, you know, corner I take in the gaming world, Mario is there. I gotta have Mario at the top of this list. He is my top protagonist.
When it comes to the world of video games, there are an absolute ton of amazing protagonists. But what is my favorite? Most, I think, would probably go to Metal Gear Solid. They probably think Solid Snake himself, the legend, would be mine. However, turns out that's not the case. It actually goes way back to Assassin's Creed 2 with Ezio. Spans over 3 games, with Brotherhood and Revelations wrapping it up. We get to experience Ezio in a light like no other, from the infancy of a baby all the way to teenager, adulthood, and then the ultimate badass assassin. Ezio is my main protagonist, he's my favorite protagonist, and he's one of the best protagonists ever in any series. That's just my opinion. Let me know over at InsideTheGame.ca. Do you agree with me and the other guys?
My all-time favourite protagonist in a video game has to be Ellie Williams from the Last of Us series.
You have heart. You're loyal. And you're special. No, this is a sacrifice lamb.
So I'd like to thank Neil Druckmann and the Naughty Dog team for creating such an amazing game with a phenomenal storyline to suit. As you take on the role of a young 14-year-old girl called Ellie, who is trapped in a military orphanage whose curiosity pushes her to escape to the outside, which is now an apocalyptic America. But most of all, the storytelling makes Ellie such a believable character that you feel like you grow with her on your quest. But also it's someone that you could relate to as well, and puts you on a roller coaster of emotions. But most of all, what I love about Ellie is that she is a survivor, and that's why she is my all-time favourite protagonist in a video game.
In Fallout 76, there are a ton of daily challenges, some of which are super easy to complete, and then there are a few that are actually challenging. some of which are challenging in the way that you just don't know where certain creatures spawn in. So in this week's episode, I'm going to be letting you know where the super mutants spawn in and how to easily kill 15 of them for your daily challenge. The first place that you should always check out is Grafton. It is near the northern middle part of the map. And here, there are a ton of super mutants that spawn in. I mean, there are easily 30 that spawn in. If you just walk around this entire area, they just naturally magnetize towards you. Be wary, there are super mutant hounds here as well, and there are a lot of super mutants that will attack you at once. So if you're a lower level character, you might want to pack some extra meds. Now if, for whatever reason, you spawn here and there's just not enough super mutants, the second place to go is just south of Grafton, and that is the Grafton Dam. There's often an event here called Manhunt that spawns in. If you do this event, or just simply spawn in on this area, there are almost 10 super mutants that spawn in here quite regularly. And then lastly, I'm just going to mention a third place. It is Eastern Regional Penitentiary. I actually mentioned this in the Feral Ghoul challenge in last week's episode, but if you go just around the building or walk straight through it, killing all these feral ghouls, on the opposite side of the building, there are a ton of super mutants again that spawn here. There is also an event called Jailbreak where you will kill hundreds, I swear, super mutants. So again, with all these little tips and tricks, super mutants is an easy challenge to complete.
Well, that'll wrap up today's episode. Thank you for hanging out with us. And of course, if you want to be a part of our show, all you have to do is go to insidethegame.ca or hit us up in Discord. We're there. You can submit your clip and end things off for the show. Coming up on this week's show, though, we've got Cory who's ending things off. Man, that's just deadly shooting. You can't get around this guy. And he seems unstoppable. So let's check it out. It's Call of Duty. Until next week, thanks again, and we'll see you inside the game.